And that's it. That's our new theme song. Everybody, welcome to Bad Internet Friends, the independent wargaming podcast.
Slash stream slash presentation.
It'll be a podcast eventually. Once we get
it has podcast elements.
Yes, they are there. It will happen. And yeah, this is Ivan, right over there in red.
Hey.
Dave in blue.
It's color coordinated. We planned that. That was something we decided we were going to take color coordination very seriously.
That's right. Blue versus red is very important. All right. What have you been up to this week, or these last 2 weeks, really?
Yeah. Well, a lot less in 2 weeks because recovering from having the plague took a bit longer, and my work has been pretty busy. What I did do, and I was disproportionately proud of, is I gathered up every single 28mm sci-fi miniature I own and got them actually sorted. So now it's all like on a shelf. I'm not going to show anything because it's basically like 99%. I'd say 96% unpainted. A lot of it's been sitting in boxes from various moves, but it was like now we're here like on a semi-permanent basis, so it was time to like get it sorted and stuff, and also like take stock of it. So there's a bunch of like there are 2 Eldar Guardians. There's like 2 Gene Stealers, 32 standard Space Marines. Like nothing adds up to anything. There is enough for like an old hammer, like Space Marine and Eldar army. I found like half of an Eldar avatar, a handful of random Warzone minis that I don't know where it came from. I think somebody had like offered them to me. 1 squad of Infinity guys. I don't know what army they are, but they look cool. There's like 5 of them. I don't know if they have squads in Infinity. They probably do. A grand total of 1 Void miniature. I'm a little dude with a chain gun. I don't know where he came from. And the like 12 survivors of the box of Cadian shock troops I had bought like 20 years ago to use for Starground. They have like soldiered on as generic sci-fi troopers for all that time, and just every 2 years one of them goes missing. So there's 12 left. They're less of a platoon now. Now they're just down to a squad.
Attrition by kids or cats?
That could be anything. They may well be like out in the woods in Michigan or something. But I got the only thing I didn't sort was my actually surprisingly large collection of Trinity Battleground miniatures. I feel like that could be a presentation on the show at some point because nobody's ever seen any of those. Nobody's ever played the game. But
yeah, it doesn't ring a bell to me whatsoever.
No, it was this game that White Wolf had done. So Trinity was like their sci-fi RPG way back, like 25 years ago. It's been a hot minute. Before the quote new World of Darkness was the thing they switched to. It was pretty cool. It had like Sonic characters and space travel and stuff. And you were fighting like mutant monsters. It was pretty cool. And they published a miniatures game to accompany it. It kind of uses the same rules, and it was set. And it had like a small range of figures. It came with like cardboard terrain from I don't remember the company now, but it was one of the companies that at that time was like big into cardboard terrain, which there wasn't that much of. So it's a game that like 9 people had played. A couple of years ago, I got a like brand unopened copy from eBay because I wanted to own a copy again. And then I got a lot on eBay, which had like, from what I can tell online, it is almost like every miniature that was released for the game, which is not that many. There was maybe like 30, and I think I had like 25 or 26 of them. So, but yeah, it's like super obscure. So someday, maybe we'll have a thing where we talk about like obscure non-indie minis games.
Oh yeah,
this definitely qualifies.
Yeah, there's some big project out there that just went into obscurity. That's for sure.
There's a lot. I mean, did you ever play Vor Into the Maelstrom by FASA?
No, but I remember seeing ads constantly all the time.
Yeah, everyone like loved the what were they called, growlers or whatever. They were these big like pig monsters. It was a weird game. We played it for like a little bit, but it was one of those that again just kind of, I guess, when FASA went away, it went away. There was so many that like came and went.
Just gonna give a quick hello. Good morning, Tom Kenish. He's our good moderator.
Hey, thank you so much.
Facebook group 5 Parsecs Rome.
Hey,
MIG rings a bell.
I think it's the YouTube gent.
Yeah,
I'm terrible with like regular names, let alone like screen names.
Nice to see you though.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for hanging out.
What have I been up to? Well, I have been playing more time. Still up now.
How's that going? You started getting some experience?
Oh, yeah, I still haven't memorized the chart, but you know, getting there.
Yeah.
We decided that we would call ourselves allies for the last game, so I didn't technically lose, but it would bounce for sure. And I did lose the game before that, so
That's fair.
I'd say I didn't win any of the games, but that's fine. It was
happy to be here.
Yeah, it was fun the whole way along. Yeah, and then there was the big wrap up party at the end. It was so they had 40 participants, which is pretty hefty.
Wow, that is a whole chunk of guys, especially for a game that is like pretty out of print.
Yeah. They say more times more popular than ever. So
that might very well be the case. So yeah, that's cool though.
Yeah. So all my hobby has been Mordheim orientated.
Yeah,
had to 3D print these little snotling guys to get something nice and classic. I'll be showing them off later, but they are adorable. Some of them have mushrooms to attack people. And I wanted to show off a little slideshow and everyone else about the coolest thing about the Mordheim campaign at the end was we had to fight something called a Beowulf, and every participant had to kit bash a monster. And I didn't take pictures of everyone else's monsters. I only took pictures of my own, but it was a lot of fun. Most people took toys or things and just kind of like jammed bits onto. That's what I did. But so some people really went way out. One person made a biblically accurate angel with googly eyes. Just big circle wings everywhere and just covered in googly eyes.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. The winner, the person who got the most votes for their monster, had basically Baba Yaga. So it dashed a house with legs.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good idea though, because you can start with like a house model and then add stuff to it.
Yeah, exactly. It deserved to be a winner. It was really cool.
Yeah, that's.
Hey,
yeah, go for it.
So Midge, MIJ, chatted a bit on Discord, more of a lurker, fair enough. And Fox is here.
Hey, welcome.
In the tavern having a brew, watching the stream. Nice.
Hey. Could be watching literally anything else, but here you are watching us. That is very touching.
So crazy. Okay. So I'm going to slip on over to this button right here. Hey, all right. So
look at that.
I got a few pictures here of my kit bash. I got donated some bits. I didn't really have a lot of fantasy bits. For some reason, all my bits are all sci-fi. But I think the shell is a Tyranid. And then the arms came from, I'm pretty sure, Chaos Spawn Sprue. Maybe
I was kind of looking at it and trying to like guess where each piece came from.
Yeah. The legs and the tail came from a toy dinosaur that my daughter had.
Oh, had.
And, well, no, she could still have half of it at least.
Stubby-tailed dinosaur. How tall is this model? Or how tall did it end up being?
That's a 60 millimeter base on there.
Okay, so it's pretty substantial.
It ended up being one of the smallest monsters too.
Oh wow! Yeah. So a lot of these would have like towered over like some little Skaven dude.
Oh yeah, definitely. My little goblins were no match for any of those size wise. And I did a little bit of. It was a milliput mixed with green stuff. I heard like a recipe. They say they try like 30%, 70%, one or the other, or 50-50. So I decided to try 50-50 milliput and green stuff. Both of them were pretty old, but it gives you some of the malleability of milliput, but some of the rigidity of green stuff without curing too quickly. So,
I see. So literally better than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, exactly. So you got something that you could work with, but would stick on there pretty good.
Yeah.
Hold a bit of shape. I'm not very good with green stuff or milliput.
Yeah. I was gonna say because it looks like it's pretty top heavy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all plastic, so I think the legs are actually heavier in the long run.
That might be the case. Yeah. So.
I super glued it to the base, and the tail was straight out, so I had to like bend it over, super glue it, and then put like a clamp on there to clamp it down. But it held pretty good. And then
how did the monster actually fare on the battlefield?
Well, I ended up defeating it
okay.
But he killed many of my goblins.
Oh. F's in chat.
Yeah. The basing is done the old-fashioned way. So I did PVA sprinkled with some, sand, the arena sand, which is always like a heavier grit. And there's some actual sand from like a clay cliff that I did. And bits of shale, which I super glued those onto. Just
Yeah. That's very old school basing.
Yeah, exactly. And then
just out of curiosity, did you use the same style basing on the Warband, or did you have
it's all tied together.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I figured since it was Mordheim, even though I wasn't going to square bases, I still wanted to keep it pretty old school, so I did.
Yeah, I kind of have the
this
vibe.
kind of, yeah.
Although I think I'll check it on Old White Dwarf because there's a fair chance they still painted the bases like Goblin Green.
Yeah, absolutely.
They did
in the Mordheim book, though, they do show like brown bases with black.
Yeah. Even like the original Necromunda stuff was painted on Goblin Green bases.
Yeah, Goblin Green.
I think it must have been like a studio rule or something. You had to do that.
Oh yeah, everything's got to be Goblin Green. It is a nice base though. I like Goblin Green, honestly.
Yeah, it's sort of festive.
Yeah,
the nice bright. Also, it actually has it like brightens up the miniature quite a lot. So especially for, a lot of those color schemes were really bright anyway.
Yeah.
Like old school like Dark Angels or something, it actually helps like illuminate them a little bit.
Yeah, if you want to go old school, Goblin Green is the way to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I built all the plastic bits with mostly sprue goo, which is when you take like Tamiya extra thin and you chop up bits of sprue into it until you reach a thick consistency. So,
okay.
Like a lot of the stuff wasn't meant to go together, so I did a little bit of chopping, but mostly just big globs of sprue goo. So on this picture, you can kind of see a little bit of string coming from the wings into the body there.
Yeah. So it came together pretty well. But yeah, kind of getting the feeling there was a lot of goop applied to make him actually fit together.
Yeah. Oh, the slideshow went out of order. This is all the slap chop era. So after the Black Prime, I went through, and I like to give the fleshy bits a lighter color than the black before I dry brush the rest, because I find it kind of dulls the whole miniature down too much. So if you put in a lighter flesh color underneath, and then you do your dry brushing with the lighter colors yet, you tend to get more pop in the overall color.
So is this like a modified slap chop?
Yeah, exactly. So I left the carapace and the feathers and the claws and everything in black still. So when you get the dry brush, you get that texturing on there. But the skin is a little less prominent that way. You still have some texturing, but it's not as noticeable. And yeah, the fleshy bits really start to pop.
So it's more like the smack hack than the slap chop.
That's right.
Oh, that's a cool shot.
Yeah,
he looks pretty intimidating.
This was the Black Prime. That was supposed to be next.
So how much did you like plan out the build and what pieces to use, and how much it was just like picking up random pieces and like mashing them together?
I think I spent 3 days, like 3 nights after work, studying the sprues and chopping them out and test fitting things.
Oh, okay. So it was quite a bit of
discarding.
Into this guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of bits that I did not use that I thought about using.
Gotcha.
And the legs was the hardest part. So in the end, I decided just to steal, or asked my daughter for one of her dinosaurs.
She donated to the cause.
Yeah, definitely. And there we go. That's the final product. So
yeah, looks quite fierce. So is he gonna end up getting recycled? Or is he gonna live on the shelf now?
Yeah, I bet he'll pop up again sometime.
Yeah, he's a good like scenario monster for something.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. There he is attacking my goblins.
Yeah, they look a little outmatched, but
yeah,
if you have a stout spear, you can just have to believe in yourself.
That's right. They only had bows and daggers, so
okay, so they were pretty fucked.
They would have run if they could. There was nowhere to go. You don't see the other monster that was sandwiching me in. So someone else's monster and my monster were coming in. Both sides of the stairs. Turns out I think that was the stairs for goblin or a monster sacrifice. So I chose poorly.
Yeah. Turns out you were not the hero in the movie.
Yeah. But yeah, still the same basing on these goblins. And yeah, the same kind of technique, slap chopped the goblins themselves, then painted the flesh colors first and then put it on the green. So they have that good pop to them compared to the others. Yeah,
they stick out pretty well. But since people may be curious, what company is the goblins from?
Those are all Games Workshop.
Oh, okay.
They're different eras. The one guy,
I was gonna say they don't
on the right side, kind of in front of the torch, is he's old. He's 5th edition, so he's a giant goblin. And then the rest are all from Battle for Skull Pass and Warhammer Underworlds, and they're all around the same size. And Yeah, that's when they shrunk goblins. Everything in Warhammer got bigger except for goblins. They got smaller.
Oh, that is terrible.
Cute. But it works out well because I use the old goblin as a boss.
Oh,
so he's
okay.
really superior to the other ones.
Yeah, he ate his vegetables.
Yeah, exactly. He pushes the little ones out in front of him like a good boss does.
Occasionally lifts them for games.
That's right. All right, and that's it.
Yeah, that was an awesome little project.
I think actually I forgot to switch that screen though, so we probably only saw like a little tiny bit.
People will just have to like zoom in.
Yeah.
So blow it up on your big TV.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So for the sort of main topic tonight, we were going to discuss a couple of indie miniatures games. I think we got a variety of reasonably obscure stuff, semi-obscure, depending. You never know, because like you can mention a game that like you think everyone has played because it was in stores and like nobody in the group has heard of it, and then you bring up some random thing that was only on a Angel Fire page like 200 years ago, and somebody's like, "Oh yeah, we still play that every weekend." So you never know.
Nice.
But maybe some like deeper cuts of miniatures gaming and stuff that had just like caught our eyes like over the years. Last time we were moaning, or I was moaning, about how hard it is for indie gamers to get any kind of exposure. So this is, at least for my picks, is me making up for stuff from like 20 years ago, or 15 years ago, maybe. But nobody was talking about these games back then, and nobody is now. So now we're going to fix that. So I'm going to start. And the first one is called Slammer by Nicole. It's subtitled Fast Action Sci-Fi Skirmish Rules. And there should be a link in the description to this video, or
absolutely,
or there will be.
Yeah, no, there is. It's all
okay.
there.
Yeah, so you can go check
spoilers.
So yeah, you can read along. Just think of it as a soothing bedtime story. I'm not going to read the rule book. Basically, this is a sci-fi skirmish game. It's got kind of I would say like a middle ground between like a military feel and a Hollywood feel. So it comes with like army lists for like colonial marines and aliens and starship troopers, but it also has enough of a like, I wouldn't say gritty, but like there's enough meat here that it feels like a decent like military game. There's a little section with like Hollywood extras and stuff. I think there's vehicle rules, but I don't remember. We never used those. It's very kind of low level. You really have like either teams of like a handful of models. You can also have individual characters. You could potentially have like all the characters be just individual. It basically kind of works the same. What was cool about it, other than being kind of open-ended at the time, the whole idea of like a game you could just play with any miniatures you wanted was still kind of mind-blowing to us. So it made a big impression, and we played it like not a ton, but we played it a bit. Also, the author Nicole is like a super nice guy. The key to it is this like activation table. You roll a die and you add a bunch of stuff based on like your troop quality and like quite a few factors. It's kind of old school. So if your troops are being shot at, they get like a penalty. If they're in cover, they get a bonus. If you have wounded guys, so on. It all modifies up and down. And what it does is it both acts as the initiative score. So like the better you roll, you get an advantage in the turn sequence. But it also affects what kind of actions you can take. So if you roll like really well, your unit can move like pretty much their full moves. They can advance on the enemy or even like charge into close combat. They can shoot at enemies. They can do difficult tasks like if they want to upsurf or indirect fire or something that requires a pretty good roll. If you get kind of a mid-range roll, they will be more limited. So not only are they penalizing their initiative, but they may not be able to advance on the enemy, or they might move at a reduced speed, or they may only be able to return fire. So if somebody shoots at them, you can shoot back, but otherwise they're just, so this happens a lot if you have like green troops that are being shot at, they're not really in good cover. They can kind of like hunker down and they will fight back, but you can't rely on that unit to like go take an objective or something. If you roll really poorly, they might not be able to shoot at all, or they might even break and try to flee. So there's kind of a bit of like vibe to it. There's a few different like qualities you can have. So in addition to having like train and green and veteran troops, you also have motivation. So you have like if your unit are warriors, they will have a bonus when they want to like get into close combat with you. Or you can have like elite units who are just better than their average like troop quality would say. So there's like 5 or 6 of these. It's one of these like games where there's not thousands of options, but there's enough. You can kind of build a bunch of stuff, especially if you think in terms of like cinematic sci-fi. If you want to do like Star Wars stormtroopers, but they land on like LV 426 or whatever and get attacked by xenomorphs, this game would absolutely do that for you. Or if you just want to like make up some characters and a few squads and like shoot each other, there's a little weapons table. It doesn't cover a lot of like out there stuff, so you're not really going to have like drop ships and stuff like that, or like heavy tank battles or anything. It's really more a game for like small scale, you know, kind of cinematic action. But if you, and it looks like it was last updated in 1999, so you hasn't been a lot of things that since. I think the guy when I talked to him a while ago said he had kicked around the idea of maybe like prettying up like a new version, but doesn't seem like anything is going to come of that. It's a little. The main downside is it's a little fiddly if you have a lot of units on the table, like individual squads, basically. Sometimes, like keeping track of like what everyone rolls for the initiative rolls can get a little hairy. But the combat rules are really simple. You can get, you know, easily like a couple of or a platoon on each side. You know, 4 or 5 units, a couple of characters, that kind of stuff. So a cute, little, very charming game that has a nice feeling to it, and I think everyone should go check it out. So it's one of those games that like nobody talks about ever, but like the website has been around for like 25 years, so obviously somebody must have, right? So we played it. We had a great time. It is a perfect if you have like 15 random miniatures lying around. It's not enough to make an army for something, but it's enough. Like you could play this game if you have like a handful of old Star Wars, like of those plastic figures that Wizard of the Coast used to make. Like it's perfect for this kind of thing. Just grab, you know, some guys and like have a go at it. Come up with a little scenario. Have a good time.
Heck yeah.
So that is my first very retro recommendation, Slammer. And it feels a little retro, but not too much.
Might be the oldest one on the list.
It could be, yes, with a like asterisk next to it. So, but that is mine. So, what do you got? What do you have? Did you bring in enough for the whole class?
I'm just going to catch up on chat. Hey. Fox is going to be heading out. He wants us to spam our links on the Discord after. Thank you. We will definitely do that. Tom Kennish, the psychic hazard, is building some GW Cataphren breachers for converted tactics forces.
Hey,
yeah, he realized he might
true loyalist
legs rather than tank tracks, so maybe a kit bash at some point, which sounds pretty cool. I like tanks with legs.
It's a time-honored tradition.
Yeah, and then I mentioned Tom Kennish. We're just commenting on my miniature.
Hey, okay, he thought it was rad.
Revolting. All right, so I'm just going to pop up my notes. Before I start, I just want to say, do you understand what I mean if I say a sit pit?
I have absolutely no idea.
That's when you sit down to do something, and maybe you get distracted by your phone. Maybe you accidentally fire up your game instead of firing up the browser that you meant to go research some stuff on, and then you end up playing a game until like 2:30 in the morning. Right. Sometimes things like that. So I had a bit of a sit pit last night. So I'm going to run this off of memory just based on my notes, but I don't think I'm going to be quite as eloquent as your description of the use.
To be fair, I did have like, I'm looking at the website like right here off camera. So
yeah. Well, you got the mind for the rules too, so I think it's
that's fair. It is an occupational hazard, to be fair.
But my choice is PZ8 or PZ8. I don't know if the guy's American or not. I found this game because I was super into 6mm at the time. I was into BattleTech and I was into Robotech. The Robotech Kickstarter had launched, so it's got to be around 2014, I would say, where I was looking for the crunchiest rules possible. And started reading the crunchiest rules, and I realized now that I'm a dad, my daughter
you were no longer looking for the crunchiest rules possible.
Exactly. Like I got no mind for this whatsoever. Like all this is just way over my head. So I'm like, okay, but I still want something that has some flavor, a lot of unit variety, but it's something simple. You know, it moves nicely. So my criteria became, if I could read the rules and see how it's played out in my head, then I'm going to give it a try.
All right.
So PZ8 is just a huge conglomerate of rules that are all 2 pages, and they all kind of follow different themes. The one I chose was sci-fi because that's what I was really into, and that's what I was collecting. So I had a lot of Ground Zero games, miniatures, and I think I had some Brigade. I was getting some from Saner Games back when he was doing some metal casting and different stuff like that. So I wanted something that I could just throw it all together, get it on the table, add some infantry and things.
Yeah.
And PZ8, they have pre-made units, so you can go through and just choose those ones, or you can build your own. And nothing is too different from each other, so it's all easy to follow, but there's enough variety on the things you can equip them to make them feel like a certain thing. Like a mech is tall, so it can always see things and it can always be seen. And, it can move through rough terrain just fine.
Yeah.
Same with a Gev. Hover vehicles, might crash in the terrain, sort of thing. What I remember of that.
Was this originally a World War II game?
I believe it started out. Yeah, I mean, Panzer 8 is.
Yeah, I think that's where.
And he made like naval versions of this, World War I versions, aerial versions. But yeah, the one I latched onto was sci-fi.
Yeah.
But yeah, if the link is down below, definitely check it out. It's very easy to read through.
And this is a freebie as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All the links are for free games, basically.
Yeah.
None of these games
we didn't plan that. That's just kind of how it worked out.
Yeah. They're all old and they need some love.
Yeah,
no one's gonna buy them.
I think Punch 8 is still like being played. I see it crop on occasion when people talk about like convention games and stuff. And I think it kind of has, from what I vaguely recall reading, it's like really easy to play like really big games. So it has kind of a foot in that scene where you just pile like a billion tanks on the table and have a good time.
Most of the time, I just play double fisted, and it was super easy. It's easy to keep track of everything.
Well, it also helps when playing double fisted that the game is like a step below like what you would normally do. Like I find I have it where if I like forget a rule or something and I realize I forgot, it makes me like really unmotivated to continue.
Oh yeah.
So the game is like a step easier than what I would play with a friend. Because when you have a friend that even if they don't really know the rules that well, they can still like help you. Like, oh, didn't we like miss a thing here? Or wasn't there supposed to be a test for that or something? They'll kind of like latch on to things, especially if it affects their army.
Yeah, exactly.
So Punch 8. That's definitely like still going. But I don't know if it's like still being developed. Or if it's mostly done. There's only so much you can kind of like make for these kind of like very simple games.
A quick internet search says it is definitely not being developed.
Oh, okay.
But it's still like you can find multiple references to it, and the original author still has it hosted on a website to download.
Okay, so it's basically done. It's the same thing that
it's balanced. It's good to go.
Yep, or it's as good as it's gonna be. But with a lot of these like simple games, you can also like if you really need to like add some stuff, that's kind of on you.
Yeah. One thing I loved about this game is the turn order, which I don't know how many games do this, but it's not asymmetrical necessarily, but you have to roll the dice every turn to see. Oh no, wait, that's a different game. That's right. One person's A, one person's B. So player A will move their units. Player B gets to fire, then player B moves, and then player A fires.
Yeah,
and then you resolve A and B. They have to rally. So a lot of shots aren't necessarily lethal. You might get suppressed or disorganized.
Yeah, that's a very like historical game kind of turn sequence, I think.
Okay. It makes sense. You don't see it much in like the big games.
Yeah, it's not really like even just like having distinct phases is like not a thing people do anymore, which I think is a pity. Sometimes I like phases. I understand why it kind of went away because I think people just prefer being able to do all their stuff with their unit. But
I think everyone got tired of the Warhammer of taking a half an hour to do your turn.
Yeah, a lot of that. I will defend like Warhammer a little bit and say a lot of that is just like because the armies got bigger. Like there's no fast way of moving like 200 orcs one dude at a time.
That's true. Yeah.
But I also think like I've always like maintained, especially with 40k, that like as long as you don't take like the best unit, the game is actually like better if you like go a little below like 1200 points or something, 1250. tighten things up a little bit. You can be done dog off for lunch and ice cream.
It's true. Yeah, it's good to balance between time. I was listening to a podcast today talking about, like how long does it take to go through a turn? Should be a turn clock, things like that. But in case in this, I think it works really well because you are engaged because you're seeing, if you're player A, you're moving and then you're trying to figure out how you're going to get counter-fired at. And so as they're firing at you, you don't feel good, but then you see them moving into your range to fire at, and you're like, all right,
yeah. Now those fuckers are going to get it.
The one downside for this game, I felt, is that you play it on like a 4 foot by 4 foot table, and the ranges are super short.
So so you kind of have to like
short, things like that. So
Yeah.
it just takes a while to get into combat.
Yeah, that's a thing with. I wonder if that's like the World War II origin, because especially for like older games, it used to be a thing where you would have like pretty large tables with like high movement rates for all the vehicles, but then your infantry is like slumming it along at like 2 inches per turn, and they can mostly just like punch each other in the face. So
since it's sci-fi, you could have like a million APCs, but yeah, imagine a World War II game with no transport whatsoever would be such a slog.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, a lot of time, I'm not often a big fan of games with a lot of like APCs, because once they get blown up, you always end up either with a bunch of infantry that are stranded or a bunch of APCs that no longer have like dudes to like move around.
True.
So
nothing in chat to catch up on, so we're good there. So if you want to number 3.
Number 3 is actually a game that has come, gone, and come again. So the link will be to a gentleman who gathered up the debris after Yahoo Groups was shut down. So it tells you like what time period we're talking about. For those of you who were born like after we invented computers, Yahoo Groups was a thing where you could go and you would get like an email mailing list. So you would send an email to people on the My Little Pony wargaming group or whatever, and then every day you would have a bunch of unhinged weirdos replying to your email, and you would get them all in your inbox. It was great. Love that stuff. A lot of tabletop stuff was on there, and a lot of stuff has kind of, I guess nowadays, like Facebook groups kind of take the role of it, but it was kind of a different vibe. People were as like weird and unhinged as they are now on the internet, but they were more eloquent because you have to like write out like. People got pissed if you only sent like a 1-line email. So, however, back in them days, there was a game called Beamstrike. And Beamstrike was actually kind of what we would call a retro clone now, but before that term was invented, because it's actually sort of a fan remake of an old game called Imperial Commander, which was the like mass battle like sister to Laserburn, which like everyone is familiar with. If you're not, it's not a predecessor to Warhammer 40k. People always say that. That's not really how those are related, but it's like connected. The same guys like knew each other, and Laserburn inspired a lot of stuff in 40k. But Laserburn was like a very man-to-man like skirmish game with hit locations and D100 rules, and oh my god, so many D100 rules. Imperial Commander was aimed at having like some guys on the table, a platoon or so, which was a lot for sci-fi games at the time. And was like a lot simpler to play, but it still had a little bit of jank. So Beamstrike was basically one guy and maybe his friends who set about like modernizing that game and coming up with a bunch of like new units, new weapons, new stuff. And it was kind of a whole thing. The rulebook, which I'm looking at here, is about 50 pages, plus a handful of like charts and stuff. But it was surprisingly like comprehensive. So you get all the normal stuff, firing, moving around. There's multiple vehicle types, tons of different like weapons and equipment. You could have like off-table fire support, jump packs, just all kinds of stuff. Very much in that sort of classic like sci-fi miniatures vibe. It's really, we weren't really talking like hard military sci-fi. It's really more of a like space opera kind of game. Again, fitting its roots in like proto Warhammer. The standard resolution mechanic was 2d6, so it can take a little bit if you have like 6 guys like opening up with their machine guns or whatever. You're rolling 2d6 to hit for each of those dudes. It can take a bit, but like Grunts did the same thing, and I don't know. You don't necessarily play like huge games. We usually play 3 or 4 squads and a couple of vehicles, and it moves at a pretty good clip. The cool thing is that it was really friendly, just like building whatever you want. It is not like a full build system, but there's like a bunch of troop classes, tons of weapons and armor type. You just kind of like put them all together like Legos. You can kind of get. So we The guy I played with, we had a pretty wide range of 50mm sci-fi figures, and I don't think we ever came across something that we couldn't like fit into the game somehow. I think the only thing it doesn't really do is like big like monster model, like your creepy crawly. I don't know that, but maybe you could just like stack him up as a vehicle. Maybe there was a way, and I'm just stupid. But yeah. Also, a cool thing was depending on like the weapon type. So there's different like damage tables for different weapons. So like if you have like a high powered weapon, it'll just kill a guy with no armor. But if you're hitting a guy like power armor, there's a chance that he'll be dead or he'll be okay, or like his suit will be damaged. And their little like low powered weapons might like stun the character or whatever. So there was a little more. It's a little more detailed than like Warhammer and the likes. There's a little more, there's hit modifiers and stuff like that. But it was just a really cool, evocative kind of game. And also, I have a personal connection to it because sometime like 1,000 years ago, I got an email from somebody asking if they could borrow a rule from my Fast and Dirty rules, and I said sure, whatever. And then years passed. I downloaded BIFcast because I was looking for stuff to play, and I noticed that the target selection rule looks awfully familiar because Fast and Dirty has this thing where the lowest quality unit had to shoot at the closest target. The next quality could pick from the two closest and up the chain. And this worked the same way. I was like, oh, that's funny. I wonder where this guy got that from. And then I got to the last page, and Fast and Dirty was in the credits. So I'm like, oh, it's that dude. So he straight up like emailed and asked. And then I forgot about him. So if you're out there, Mr. whatever your name was, I think your game was really cool, and I appreciate that you credited a bunch of people in the back of the book. So yeah, it's kind of like it feels a lot like almost a prototype of some of the same ideas that would become Grunts, although it has not a lot to do with that game specifically. I would say it has more like color and character just in like the weapons and the things. There's even some like aliens. I think there was supposed to be like a big setting with different eras. The website only has like one of those books now, which is this like near future post-apocalypse kind of thing. I think it was supposed to be this thing where like you could play like different eras in the same setting and we get more like high tech as you went along, but that doesn't exist. But there's a lot you can do with this game, and it's definitely like a little more on the fiddly side. You just have to kind of be into a little bit more detail. Also, it was heavily marketed towards 50mm sci-fi at the time, which at that time mostly just meant like Ground Zero games and like old laser burn figures, I think. It was definitely before like the 15mm sci-fi like explosion that we got.
Yeah, I always hear Star Grunts and Grunt and Star Grunts. Star Grunts? Grunt. Star Grunt and Grunts confused. They're both 15mm and they got
Yeah, and I think a lot of the same people moved on from one to the other. Grunts was more general like sci-fi battle and was like
not heavily chip based.
There was no chips, and it was heavily based around like the points cost and the unit builder. Star Grunt 2 was more of a military feeling game, but like you had like declining morale values, and you had to like deal with wounded troopers and stuff. It's easily like my favorite game of all time, but it's also second favorite game of all time. But it's also like it's a game that's a little bit of a hard sell because some of the mechanics are just kind of awkward and yeah. But it was one of the first games that I remember at least to kind of just say like, okay, you can use whatever you want, and there's no points values. Like you get to sit down with your opponent and like figure out a scenario, and that's how you play. And it was the first game I ever saw that like felt like it took it kind of seriously. Like I said, you had like troops getting suppressed, and you had like if your dudes get wounded, you have to deal with that. Your guys might lose confidence because like their friend is like screaming at them while they're being shot at by like some dudes and stuff. So Starground is a game I could like spend an hour talking about. But that's not today. Today's Beam Strike, except I'm dead. So
all right.
But yeah. The closing comment was going to be, if you're in the market for something that lets you do your own thing, but also has like an element of like vibe and character to it. And you don't mind a little retro jank because it's like a remake of a very old game. Yeah, check it out. It's great. It's fun. If nothing else, go read it. Like it has a lot of charm.
Okay, and nothing to catch up on chat, but if anyone is attending still, and they want to bring up any games in chat, your favorite indie games that they think no one has ever heard of, please do so.
Yeah.
And we will definitely talk about it after I talk about my next game and after Ivan tells us a little secret, perhaps. Okay, I'm going to pull up my notes.
Look behind the curtain.
Ooh. So this is the newest game on the list for sure. And it's called Gundam Warfront.
Hey.
And it is by two dudes on Facebook. And I didn't write down their names, so I can't remember what their names are. It is in the links below. I've credited all the books with the authors. I came across it because they were promoting their game in another Gundam Games Facebook group. And the Gundam game that they were promoting it's like an archaic feeling Japanese war game based on the Gashapon 1-400 Gundam Collection. It's called the Gundam Collection Tactics game. And all the movement was like super minimal. The ranges for your weapons were really minimal. We played through it a couple of times, and it was, I don't know, there's definitely a dedicated fan base for it because all the unit builder that they have each is for like each Gashapon, and they all are like specified to the flavor of that mobile suit.
Okay, so this is like by some pretty serious fans.
Yeah, so these guys are like, this game has such cool concepts, but it's kind of unplayable to modern standards.
Yeah.
So they took Gundam Collection and they've mashed Alpha Strike into it. They took Alpha Strike and just jammed it right into that game.
Yeah.
And it works so good.
I'm often a fan of games that have a little bit of jank to them. It gives them some character. But that sounds like 100% like labor of love kind of territory.
Yeah, it's astounding how well it works. They just took the stats from the units from Gundam Collection and just jammed it into the Alpha Strike style. So all the weapon damages are still based on Gundam Collection, but the ranges are Alpha Strike. The order of play is still Alpha Strike. So you roll off for advantages. So whoever has advantage gets to move last and shoot first. So it's kind of similar to Panzer VIII, that aspect. Except for that.
So if you're coming from Alpha Strike, you'll have like a leg up.
Yeah, exactly. If you ever played Alpha Strike, you would definitely know how to play this game. You roll for your pilot skills, and it's all card based. So they created a ton of cards for this game. So each one, you just go onto the Facebook group and you can download like card sheets and you can print off your cards for the units.
Yeah. So you got to do a little bit of print and play.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a bit of print and play. You could just write down the stats if you wanted to, and that works perfectly fine. But it really gives a good flavor. And the combat ends up being it's not super quick because you end up missing a lot. But when you hit, it is so brutal. So like half the time just wondering, if I hit, will I kill it? Good chance I will, but maybe not. And it really captures the feeling of anime combat to me. Especially mobile suits, because when they start like getting together, you see them moving around, they're shooting at each other, and then bam, explosion.
They don't necessarily last all that long.
And then he dies, and the whole thing works so well. It's very underrated for sure because no one's ever heard of this.
Yeah, I'll admit I have never heard of it. I'll have to ask this. One of my friends or a couple of my friends are Gundam fans.
Yeah. It doesn't help that it's locked behind Facebook. Like a lot of people hate Facebook. On it.
Yeah, no, I kind of still do. But that's kind of the same thing as like with the Yahoo groups where they encountered that exact issue. Once those went away, like tons of stuff just disappeared into the into the ether. There's like other old games that I've tried to like find again that I remember finding when I had like was going on the internet in like high school, and like those websites may not even exist. It was like an old GeoCities page or something. This is gone. Did you ever spend time prowling that free Wargames rules page? It's still around, but now it's like a wiki and nothing works anymore. It was this website that just had like free Wargame rules. And it was like 75% of it was like hot garbage, but 25% was like legit, like cool stuff. I used to spend hours just like clicking through all that and see like, just see like cool stuff. Because it was just, like early internet, the idea you could just go online and find like content. You had to like, you had to kind of like look for it.
You had to go join a chat room to find the right forum to get the good information, to the links to the websites that were mostly down, but sometimes they weren't.
Find like the link that still works, and then you have to spend like an hour like downloading it on your DSL connection or whatever. Like it was garbage, but it was also great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there was definitely like a charm to it. Because I remember like being fascinated when I realized it was like a war game or something on the internet. They played like games I'd never heard of, you know. So there was definitely like a bit of, and there was a lot of like garbage games we downloaded that we played anyway just because we were taking the time to like download them and read them. So even if the game wasn't that good, you still like got some time out of it and got some. Nowadays you can go on Wargames and find like 10,000 games that are like they all look like way better than even like commercial games like from the time.
I know some people are amazing, so talented.
I know. So others just spend a lot of time like pounding the keyboard and see what happens.
Yeah,
that works there. Don't let anyone fool you into thinking there's any skill involved.
Just pick one game, mash into another game, you're good to go.
Yeah, you can go along. Go a long way by just like rewriting the same thing. I can only do it like two or three times and I get sick of it. Like, oh my god, I don't want to do it. Or the idea is like burnt out. So I used to get when I did like original 5-core stuff, and people would ask for like everything, like 5-core, like ships and planes and stuff. I'm sure like I could have made a pretty penny doing that. Was like, but that's not like the point of the game. Like, what are you doing? Go ask somebody else. Get the. Like there's somebody else out there that will just like churn out shite for you. But that's my like rant for the day is I mean, I don't know, like if you can make like the OPR guy like make like $1 trillion a day just doing the same thing. So like if you can do that, yeah, I mean if you can do that, then get paid. I don't think we talked about like selling out last time, but like in the end, like your landlord doesn't care where the money came from.
Yeah, that's right.
So maybe you can get paid doing something that you have fun doing, then collect the check. So I guess the point is that like you shouldn't sell out, but if you do, make sure you sell out for like a decent amount.
You have to admit though, OPR was genius.
It hit like at a perfect time. Yep. Like I think
hey guys, you want to just be able to play Warhammer,
but
without any of those stuff.
The metric ton of bullshit.
Yeah, so here's exactly what you need to play all the miniatures you want to play, but as easy as possible, and it's all free.
Yeah,
we don't care about copyright law.
There is definitely like an element of like flying too close to the sun for some of those, but whatever. That is the world in which we live. And I mean, I shouldn't like I rode road cameras. I shouldn't like moan too much about it. But no, it was like there's a few games that's come out that has been like perfectly timed in like just what people were. There were so many people who were like interested in the idea of playing Warhammer or playing 40K, but seeing like a massive rule book with a bunch of errata and seeing like all the codex books and all the whatever chapter food books, which themselves had errata and changes. Like it was just like I gave up on it. I was actually kind of excited when 8th edition came out, and we played it a bit and had a good time. And then it just like, oh my god, I don't want to do this anymore. This is so much bullshit. Like, and then 9th came out like very shortly after. I was like, I don't want to do it the fog all over again. So I 100% get like there was an absolutely a market who was like into it, but they just wanted like some rules to like move their space suits around and shoot each other that were not like a fucking chore to play. And it absolutely like allowed that. So yeah, I don't know.
Maybe you painted some miniatures and you really like those miniatures, and then the new rules come out and you can't use those miniatures anymore.
Yeah, like they lost. I'm still mad. Like it's been like 20 years by now that the Griffin, like the mortar tank that the Imperial Guard had. I don't know what the story is. They like broke the mold and they couldn't make it anymore, but it's been gone to the game for like 1,000 years. It might be in like one of those like Forge Will books or something, but I'm not. I'm just still mad. I don't even have one anymore. But
why can't my white just ride the zombie dragon?
Yeah,
why can only be vampires who can drive zombie dragons? Huh?
See,
that's how the miniature came. It came with a white.
Asking the real questions. There was I don't know if you ever played Warzone, the Mutant Chronicles minis game, but when they did the whatever edition it was, Ultimate Warzone by Excelsior, one of the things they committed themselves to was there would be stats for like every single miniature that had ever been published for the game, which turned out to be a terrible idea because it also meant they had to provide stats for all the miniatures. And a lot of them were just like boring variations of the same guy. But if there was like 5 versions of this infantry squad, they all had to have them. So it was a giant mess, but it was a cool gesture that they did it. It also like undermined. It turned out like doing the right thing is like bad financially because all the people who already had armies had no reason to go buy new ones.
Oh yeah.
So you get boned. This is why you should always change the scale. Like
Yep.
make sure the new one is 35 millimeter. That way, nobody can bring their stupid pygmy miniatures.
Everyone gets bigger, except for the ones that get smaller.
They mostly get bigger. But so sort of as a closing bit before we take any questions, if there are any questions. It's a little quiet in the chat. I was gonna self-promote a little bit, mostly just talking about fantasy KPS, or EKPS as it ended up being called, I suppose. So for those who don't know, KPS is Knight, Pyke, and Sword, and was a medieval skirmish game. Throw 24 to 30-ish like bearded dudes in chainmail with axes at each other and move around and fight each other. It's pretty easy to play, and it has a tendency of producing pretty like cinematic and vivid like encounters. And people started like asking for a fantasy version almost immediately. And I kept saying maybe. And then people just played fantasy games anyway and just like use their elves and skeletons or whatever as regular troops. And that worked fine. So for those who followed like on the blog or stuff like that, I did a semi crowdfund to be able to actually do the fantasy version. So it was originally going to be KPS 2, then it was going to be fantasy KPS, which was like what fans called it all along. But then I thought that makes it sound like it's like an expansion or something. And at one point it was going to be an expansion, but then I realized it was better to do a new edition that would be like historical and fantasy combined, because the historical stuff is basically just, you use the humans and you don't like take all the magic stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's Elf, Knight, Pyke, and Sword, EKPS, which rolls right off the tongue. But I've always been bad at naming things. I think I've come up with like one name that I'm really proud of. So a lot of them are just bad. But it works. It tells you what you need to know. So it's still kind of it's not a warband game in the way of like 5 Leagues or something, but it's warband like size, like 20, 30 guys. Units are either 3 or 6 figures or single characters. So a typical game, you might have like 2 or 3 characters and 2 to 5 units that can be 3 or 6 figures. One of the things I wanted with it is, while it can do like decently sized battles, it was important to me that it would scale down instead of up. So a lot of times people will put out a game and people will scale it up to like play bigger armies. But a lot of times they don't necessarily scale down very well. Like if you're trying to play like Warhammer Fantasy Battle with like 2 units of 5, it doesn't work. Like, the game is just not meant for it. And it was important to me that this would scale down. So if you literally just have like a group of 3 guys and then like 1 character, you could still like play a game and have fun on a lunch break, and it would still work. That's how the rules are set up. They're sort of clever, I think. There's some elements in there. There's a bit of risk management, because units that move to engage and like hand-to-hand combat become exhausted, which penalizes them if the enemy then moves to engage and stuff like that. So you have to time it a little bit. So the fantasy book will have a whole bunch. I think it might come close to 20 different like fantasy races, although there's 1 or 2 that may be merged or ditched out. But so you'll have everything from like ratmen and lizards to undead and multiple kinds of elves and stuff. They all have a few special rules to kind of go with them. There will be a ton of monsters, different magic types. One of the things I was kind of pleased with is it's called power sources. So originally in the original game, good lord, why do they let me out of the box during daytime hours? The original game had something called leadership, which is for your leaders. That's how it goes. Which is a pool of points you could spend, and it would give a character bonus actions. So, the captain like shouting, like, "Get the fuck over there," and then the dude gets the fuck over there. You spend a point. So this will have different pools. So your warrior heroes can have might, which I may have stolen from the Lord of the Rings skirmish game, but I'm not sure. But you can spend might points to get a bonus to combat. If you have a rogue type and you're playing like a special scenario, you can have expertise, which gives bonuses. And magic works the same way. You just have a pool of points you spend and you can cast spells. So there's a whole setup where you can have different character types. They can have different power sources. So you can make like, a hero with might is just like a big fighter dude. But if you make the same hero and give him a different power source, he will kind of play out a little differently. It will have all the like campaign stuff, not like a huge event-driven like narrative campaign. It's more like a traditional Wargames campaign. But, you can move dudes around a map if you like that kind of thing. There is experience and rewards. There's a whole pile of magic items, many of which are lovingly renamed from different like fantasy novels. When a game is out, I might do like a little contest, see who can guess the origin of like as many as possible. Although I realized looking at it today that I've forgotten where some of them came from. So there's a few that are pretty obvious. But the idea, so tons of magic items, a bunch of spells, tons of like monsters you can fight. The monsters are scaled down a little bit, so you don't get like mega dragons, because it has to be some of the like 25 like belligerent orcs or Saxons can like take on. And it'll still work as a historical game. You'll benefit a little bit from like some of the rules polish, and if you want to play like more heroic historicals, so like kind of like the Saga guys are doing, where it's historical, but like it's still kind of it's like a little more Hollywood, right? So you'll be able to do all of that, and it'll be exciting. Everything will have points values, and since this will be a living rule book, the hope is that as people point out how broken the points values are, I can go back and like update them over time and tweak them a little bit. Working on that. If you're among the rare crowd of playtesters, then you have already seen it, which may be like 2/3 of the people who are in the chat anyway. So updates are coming out. I don't know what the completion time will be. Certainly before Christmas. It should be quite a bit before that. But it will be exciting. Also, some people will get to get their names in the book. If you donate it over like a certain amount, you'll get your name somewhere, like a character, or be used in an XM or something. So we'll do some fun stuff with that. There will not be a built-in like setting. The idea is they'll just be like a bunch of different like creatures and monsters and characters and stuff, and then you pick the stuff that makes sense. If you're playing Lord of the Rings, then you'll pick certain things. If you're playing, whatever, I don't know what kids do these days, but you can sort of use that as a way. It also will not be tied to 5 leagues anyway, just because that's not practical at the moment.
But people are going to do that.
Yeah, and the combat system is not that different. It's like 1d6 plus something. Like some of the stats would be pretty similar. So it would be pretty easy to do, even though I didn't intend it. It would be pretty easy to do a conversion guide to bring over characters. So, and who knows? Maybe in the future there will be a glossy book. It could be 5 leagues tactics, I suppose. But yeah, so that's kind of what's happening. That's like the main thing. I have a list of like 10,000 project ideas, including some that playtesters have seen, to various degrees of completion. But I'm not 100% sure which will be like the next one to happen. But I don't want to spoil any of that yet, particularly because some of those might not happen anyway. Although if you're on the playtester group, stuff you have seen is stuff that is like, I'm pretty sure will happen. There's a project for 15mm sci-fi that I am excited about, but more on that in a future episode, I suppose.
Man, you've seen that video, right? By Peachy, where he takes Oathmark and he just uses like 5 leagues from the Borderlands to build his narrative.
Oh yeah, there's been a couple like that where people are like mixing up. I think it's really cool. A lot of it is like, I've seen people too who will talk about like they use mostly for 5 leagues, but I've seen it for parsecs too. They'll use it to generate like RPG stuff, like for their RPG campaigns. So people playing like Traveler, and they'll use the parsecs like patron and mission generation and stuff, which is really cool. It's a bunch of stuff that I never like thought about, but it's cool to see like people kit bashing things together and like coming up with their own stuff. There's a bunch of people who like swap out like chunks of the rules too. It was interesting. Like people will, come up with these like Frankenstein games.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's really cool about it is, this is going to sound stupid because it seems so obvious in hindsight, but I never really like aimed those games at like role players specifically. It was always assumed, like some people will come into them from role-playing games instead of from miniatures games. But like I was always a minis gamer, and to me, like I've always just like been a guy who likes games. It doesn't really matter what they are. So it was always like a shock to me when I got a little older and started talking with a wider range than just the people I grew up around, and realized that there were people who like just play miniatures or just play cards or just play role-playing games. That was always like weird to me. Like if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, surely you're down to play Axis and Allies tonight. That was not the case. So it's been interesting to see how many people have come into minis games either who had little experience, or who had no experience at all, and like 5 parsecs or whatever is like their first minis game, which is like really humbling, like kind of you don't like we all have like whatever our first game was, and that's like it's weird to think that like you could be that for somebody else. It's cool. But those people come in with like a whole separate set of like expectations and ideas about how things work and stuff. So it's very interesting to see like that could be like a whole episode on its own. Just how people come into things. But now it's also like this like warband narrative game style is like standard now. Like everyone does it. So now
wargaming.
Yeah, well that was like the Overlord's like term for it. But you see like so many games pop up that are like revolving around the same idea, right? It seems like there's a new one on Kickstarter like every day, basically.
But how many are small scale rank and flank skirmish adventure games?
Exactly. Very few, I should think. There was a couple we were looking at like the other week where we couldn't quite tell if it was actually a miniatures game or not, because some of them are also like there's a lot of overlap with like different solo like journaling games and all kinds of stuff. It's just like a big mush of games. But it's interesting to see like how that became like the next like wave of things, like because solo used to be like, and it was always like out there, but it was not like a thing. Like you didn't see rule books like advertising that they had solo mechanics. Certainly not that they were like intended for it. Like a lot of that changed after like Chain Reaction, and then it just like blew up. I'd like to think I had something to do with that. But, like it was just a lot of things that.
One of these days, we should have a big deep dive into Chain Reaction, so you can tell people how to actually play it.
I think I can still remember from memory how like to play Nuts first edition. That's the one we like broke our teeth on, and I remember we had like looked over the book. We just could not figure out what we were supposed to be, and we sat down like, fuck it, we're gonna take like a whole evening. We're gonna set up like 5 dudes, and we're just gonna like move them around and try to like piece together from that rule book like how it worked. And finally we got it. It was like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing we've ever done. But yeah, that original book was definitely like a bit of a climb. It got a lot better. Like they're much better now. But yes, I can play Chain Reaction.
It's a skill set, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was part of it was that it was like so different. So like if you thought you knew how a game works, you probably didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like playing Crossfire or something. Like it's almost like easier to teach to somebody who doesn't know how miniatures games work already.
I was trying to do, what was that one? The mech game.
One of the like 50.
I think it was like the first iteration of it.
Yeah.
Way back. And so I set up my kitchen table and I put all the pieces on. And then I just got to the point where I'm like, I don't even know how to move these people. I just kept rereading the rules over and over again. I'm like,
yeah, you have to just kind of like,
I don't know. I'm packing up. I'm done.
Yeah. We played a fair amount. We played a lot of the original 5150, which is this like weird, wonderful beast where like half the book was about like squads of troops fighting each other, and the other half was about doing like adventure stuff. And there was no idea how it was also supposed to fit together. You just like grab different pieces and like smash them together, and like wonderful things happened. So yeah, that's definitely like one of the games I'm like nostalgic for. In the end, we played it so much that we like burned out on it and never went back. But that's like not a sign. Like that's not a. That's a sign it was good, right? Like,
exactly.
It's like those dudes are like who leave Steam reviews that they played a game for 6,000 hours and they're sick of it and there's nothing to do. I'm like, yeah, there's a reason for that.
Sandbox is poo-pooed on.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tom is asking if we remember Phoenix Command.
I have seen the books for it. I have never played it nor spoken to somebody who like truthfully sounded like they had played it, but somebody must have.
Let's see. Ultra complex sci-fi sim that tracked encumbrance to individual rounds in the magazine. Shots took projectile flight time into account, et cetera, et cetera. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was one of those. I think I remember reading in a magazine at the time that I think this was the game where they had like studied FBI like reports on bullet wounds or something.
Oh yeah.
Just to get like realistic damage. That game is like legendary, but I don't know that I've ever met anyone who like said they had actually played it like successfully.
Tom and his group managed to play 2 minutes of game time.
Hell yeah!
In several hours.
I was gonna ask, are they still going on that gunfight? Like 5 years later.
Yeah, that'd be nuts.
Yeah, I sometimes I like a like grindy complex game, but I have to kind of be in the mood for it. Like there's like appeal to just working through the process of the game. So
Yeah.
someday I want to write like I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say someday I want to write like an ultra complex like man-to-man skirmish game with like hit locations and all that stuff. Just because it would be cool.
I was
And
just
then-
saying, like in the sliders when you're like designing your character. And
Yeah,
not
yeah,
working the game. Like you never actually got to play the game. You just spent all that time sliding the eyes and like do this.
Hell yeah.
I think that's the character design crunch.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's so. And the funny thing would be like all the 5 parts I started thinking of, and I was like, oh my god, I don't know what to do now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's like one of my. And maybe it would. I mean, there's an audience for that kind of stuff, but like a very small audience. So plus, of course, like if you write a game with a lot of rules, then you got to write a lot. So it's a lot of work. So, but yeah, something like that, like an Inquisitor or Laser Burn style like game, that would be cool.
I guess we got a question in a way.
Oh,
It's not really a question, but it's my question.
hey.
Is Tom's talking Planetfall?
Mm-hmm.
Is that closer or farther away from right now?
Planetfall is close enough that I have seen like artwork and editing like talk. I think it's still like a ways out. Once it goes off to the overlords, it's a little bit of like a black void. So I'll get like suddenly I'll see a bunch of stuff and I'm like, oh, okay, we're getting closer. So it's close enough that like yes, there is like artwork and stuff and things.
Nice.
And like all of the like extra things that they were requesting have been added, which is mostly just like improving the start of the campaign a little bit, things like that. If you're again a playtest, I think you've seen like the last version of it. But yeah, so it's definitely happening, and it's close, but like that they don't necessarily work on like a fast schedule. Like I think they had like tactics in hand for like a year before it came out.
Yeah.
So
They'll launch it, then 6 months later, some stores will have it, but most won't.
Yeah. So the whole retail chain is like endlessly complicated, and I'm just happy I don't have to deal with any of it.
Yeah, no. That's like, yeah, everything sucks shipping wise, you know? It's not just miniatures, it's everything, you know?
Yeah.
Lead time is awful.
Yeah, and then like Brexit costs for depending on where you are, and it gets muggy. But yes, Planetfall is definitely like out there. There's also a mystery game that they have not said anything about, so I can't say what it is, but I wrote it for them. It's a licensed property that don't bother trying to guess because you won't guess what it is.
Yeah. See, I've been thinking about this for years now. Like you announced it like on an old podcast or episode a long time ago. I've been waiting.
Yeah, the thing is, it's based on something that I didn't know existed until Chris Birch like told me to go look it up and like peruse it. So it's kind of obscure, but it was something that they were just like into, and I thought the idea was cool. So so that is out there and is happening. And there's also the standalone 5 Leagues game coming, which will be more of a. I'm going to be very careful and say dungeon crawling, but it's not what you think it is. It takes place underground in dungeons. It has lots of magic loot. It has new magic types and stuff, but it's not a like room by room dungeon crawler because I just hate that and I don't want to do it.
Have you finally created Goblin Slayer the game?
It's not quite as edgy, but it does have some of the. It's like in the vibe. It's like dungeon crawling in like the weird vibe of like 5 Leagues. It's actually a little funnier. There are some funny pieces I put in.
Awesome.
It's dungeon adventuring, but it's like dungeon adventuring like 5 Leagues style, not like corridor by corridor like Dungeons and Dragons style. So
Gotcha.
maybe that'll happen someday. I don't want to like be mean to people who really would like to see that because but it's something I just don't have any interest in doing. I don't like playing games like that. I just don't find them interesting. And if I don't have an interest in playing it, I'm not gonna want to write it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the Mordheim group now.
Mm-hmm.
We've been making friends. It's been nice. I got a couple of folks that we're going to be playing some 5 parsecs with.
Hey.
Which I said, I'm like, it's not really a co-op game though.
No, you kind of have to like make your own. Tactics could be co-op.
Yeah. That's what I said. No one can find the book yet, but some will, and then we will play it.
Yeah. So what you can play is the idea of tactics.
Right.
Like what would tactics be in your heart?
Yeah. I suggested though that they should roll up their bands, so their crew, and we'll do it like I was doing with my friend. He would just play the opposition, and I play my crew.
Yeah.
That works really well that way.
Yeah, that works really well. You can also delve into like some scenario stuff, like Game Master a little bit. So if you add like some elements connecting like the different missions together, and come up with a couple of unique enemies and stuff like that. I'm putting last touches on the next expansion, which will have a big section on like RPG style skills for scenario play. So that'll be cool. So plus we'll get to actually like showcase that for the first Tactics expansion. There'll be a bunch of like fluff stuff. So if people want to know like where the Horde actually comes from or what the Soulless are up to, there'll be some of that stuff.
Nice.
So yeah,
that lore.
Yeah, it's like a gamble because like every time I poll people on it, it's like 40% say that they use the setting, like 30% say they use like parts and they add some of their own stuff, and you have like 30% who either make their own or they use like Traveler or Star Wars or something. So it's like a balancing point, but I hope it'll be cool where it's like you can take like, because you can always just use like the units and stuff, and you can just make them your own thing if you don't like the official lore. Official, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like as far as I'm aware, I am playing the lore because it never was lore.
Right. I mean, a lot of
lore
it's like
second edition, so there's no lore.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is like implied kind of stuff. So it's like, okay, like if I encounter these dudes, that means the dudes like that in the setting, right?
Yeah.
But they can be like whatever.
I know what a soulless is. It's just some robot dude.
Yeah. So
some robot dudes.
Yeah, some robots. As opposed to just being, a ripoff of the Geth from Mass Effect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so. All right, so my timer went off. So
all right, we are all out of time, and I'm all out of tea, so that's probably well timed.
Nice. All right, yeah. So that concludes this episode. The next episode falls solely in my vacation.
All right.
So I have a laptop. It's from 2008, but it might do the trick.
So there's a chance that everything will be drowned out by like the grinding laptop fan.
Well, it's actually because it's so low powered. It's not too intensive sound wise.
Oh, okay.
I just don't know how well the camera's going to work. I installed Chrome Flex on it.
Yeah.
Even though it's resource low, it's still working fairly well. So I was thinking I'll give it a test. I'll see if I can live stream with it. And if so, then we could definitely do the middle or the second Wednesday of next month.
Okay. Otherwise, worst case will be the one after that. There's also going to be some shenanigans with lining up like holidays and stuff. So we'll see how it goes.
It'll either be 2 months or a month from now.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll just kind of see. But if all goes well, like every 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, that's right. So that's the plan. One of those days is Christmas, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that might be a bit. There might be questions about that, but we don't get together, have some turkey, and hide from the family.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, thanks for everyone who tuned in. We see 5 viewers, 5 quiet folks. Appreciate you.
5 is more than 4.
And to everyone in the rerun, we
if you're watching this in the morning, don't be afraid to leave a comment. I tried like diligently to go and reply to like all the comments on the YouTube. So if you want to like have me say some meaningless tripe to you, go leave a comment and I'll think up some tripe. You can ask him anything. It's literally anything. I have no shame. But I'm also like not a truthful individual, so I'll just tell you some shite. That's right. All right, perfect. Well, have a good night, everyone. Take care. Peace out. Bye. You do the hearts? Oh, I didn't get hearts. Hey, there we go. Hey, it totally works. Friendship is magic.
This episode of Bad Internet Friends was streamed live on YouTube and Twitch. There is a North American friendly live stream every second Wednesday of the month and a European friendly live stream every fourth Monday of the month.